You know, I'm one of those. I was raised in the church, but you know, I didn't think I was worthy. I didn't understand grace. The first conversation I had with Marty was, I mean, I could look in his eyes and tell he was sincere. I mean, I'm an old, you know, California police officer, and you know, probably fairly, you know, I have some pretty big walls up around just about anything and everybody, and but I could look in his eyes and I could tell there's a level of sincerity that I hadn't really seen since, you know, I looked in the eyes of my uncle, who was a Baptist preacher in California and had that same level of sincerity and conviction. And I could tell Marty wanted to reach me, and that made the difference. I was pretty slow to come, but I knew that level of sincerity. And he invited me to church early on, and he invited me and invited me and invited me, and it took me a little while to, you know, just one Sunday, you know, showed up, and he would call me and say, you know, here was a message that go online and look. And one Sunday I showed up, and then showed up again a few months later, and over a period of 3 years I came a few times. And then when it was time for Mother's Day Sunday church, my mother-in-law plays the organ in their church in California, and has done so for probably 40 years. So she was going to go to church somewhere on Mother's Day, and I thank God that experience was, okay, well, this is where we'll go for Sunday, that Sunday. And God had a plan, hit me right over the head with it. You know, starting to getting to know people, and that there's a lot of like minds here, and people that aren't afraid to get out of their comfort zone. You know, and welcome people that look a little odd. You know, as we say, CMA, the fellowship of the unashamed and the peculiar. And I see that we're welcome here. You need more of the unashamed and peculiar here. Yeah. I think I always looked at, I would visit a church and try to find what was wrong with it, I think, so that I didn't have to go to church. I don't think I ever went to a church service that I wanted to go to. It was out of an obligation or something. But that day, God spoke to me that day, and I had been thinking about doing some other things with my life. It had nothing to do with spirituality or my walk with God or church, being a Christian at all. But that day, God spoke to me, you know, what I was supposed to do, and so I set out to start doing it. And the thing that I think immediately that day caught me, that I could be comfortable here, I could be myself here. The message was, you know, what kind of Christian are you? And I never thought I was really much of a Christian, but God spoke to me through Doug that day, and I remember leaning over and telling my wife Tricia that I'm gonna be a member of this church. I'm gonna go to this church. This is gonna be my church. Which she looked very surprised, and so after the service was over, I got up and I walked over to Doug, and I said, I just joined your church. I didn't get that either. I thought, you know, I'm in a traditional church, and why do you need to do that? My wife and I both kind of thought that. Then we thought, well, we need to do a community group because it's kind of what you do. Man, the blessings from our community group, and the closeness and the brother and sisterhood that we have in our walk, and how God speaks to us through our community group members, has become such a blessing. It's hard to even describe it. Ron and I got together and decided, you know, let's form a community group that, you know, thinks a little bit like we do, and then, you know, we needed, we kind of recruited some other folks, and from day one, you know, the Marty and Farron and Tony and Stephanie and Ron and Nancy, we got together and hit it off. And I think from that point on, you know, a mission, you know, we were on a mission to do outreach, not just to get together and have fellowship ourselves, but we believe that you know, we're led to do other things. So you know, that has been our community group experience, and I just, you know, I got to imagine that it's the same thing with the other community groups. I can't imagine not having my community group, and it's such a powerful aspect of this church that it's different than anything that I've experienced before, and it helps me in my walk, and it helps me be accountable, and it gives me brothers and sisters that I know I can be who I am, and they love me for who I am. All that goes with that. I mean, I think that the other thing that God was leading me to do is to not go to church because it's the thing you do on Sunday, but to actually get out of my comfort zone, and a church needs to get out of its comfort zone as well. And I see this church getting out of its comfort zone. So many times in my life, the churches that I've attended and was trying to stay in the comfort zone. It was like the motive was to how can we kind of stay and grow membership and take care of our members, and it just didn't feel right. So I felt that what fellowship was doing was kind of getting out of its comfort zone and getting out of into the community. Still, you know, had done some things in my life that I didn't think I could ever be forgiven for. And but Doug set the stage for me, and it was just a few weeks after that I was on my motorcycle. At Grace, I just realized it between BB and Conway is praying, and I got it. And life's been different ever since. I mean, fear and all of the things that people go through, I don't have as much of that. I mean, my life has been enhanced, and I'm blessed. CMA's Christian Motorcyclists Association. It's a group that was founded in Arkansas in the mid-70s, and is now worldwide, 150,000 strong. One of the things that I was actually going to take my motorcycle and go around the country and pass out the Constitution, because I thought that, you know, instead of being, it was going to be, you know, Paul Revere. And on Mother's Day, instead of Paul Revere, I decided it was Apostle Paul that I was supposed to be. So I needed to go out on my motorcycle and spread the word and bring you know, bikers, you know, to Christ, and found other like-minded people that believed the same thing that I did. And it's amazing how the Lord led me. And it really started, you know, that Sunday sitting here. It was revealed to me exactly what I was supposed to do with a motorcycle. To be to have a ministry that's really out of your comfort zone, and I've been blessed every day since. And with my affiliation association with CMA, we started a chapter with Ron, Melanie, and myself, and a couple of other people, 3 of us from fellowship. And that group today has grown to, you know, 35 plus members in a youth organization, and reach out to, you know, plan on working with foster kids and doing a lot of things that this church is doing. And now I know exactly why God led me to this church. And our dreams and what we're working on really is that there's not a biker in White County that doesn't know that we're there if they need us, and that we bring souls to Christ. Not a single one out there do we want to not have that opportunity that we don't want to minister to. And not a single child in White County that goes through life without getting to experience good people and opportunities to have some fun and build relationships. I mean, we don't want a single child, a single foster kid in White County to not have a fantastic experience with our CMA youth group, and to have some fun and some fellowship, and to be just to have a chance. Just give them a chance. You see the dots. I mean, you see, started with Marty here and doing his part to reach out, and you had, you know, Ron and Nancy that were already here, and then Tony and Stephanie were fairly new, just coming to the church about kind of the same time that we were, and those dots kind of got connected, and from that we went out to others, and now we have affiliations and members at CMA from other churches, and the youth organization that we're working on to reach out to kids who really don't have an opportunity to do some things that we think would get them engaged with good folks, and understand that, you know, adults aren't all bad, and that they are loved, and you know, that's been our focus. We have an individual that came to us that says, I have 150 acres, and I gave my Social Security checks to buy 9 dirt bikes, and I want to help kids, a place for kids to come and teach them the gospel and teach them about real love. And that started, so you could, you know, with Marty reaching out, and with Ron and I becoming engaged with each other and talking about our vision, and Tony and others. And so now this has grown and grown and grown, and it started, you know, right here with basically, you know, 3 members of this church. I just love the mission of this church, especially the mission around children, and that we can make a difference in their lives. And now I feel like it's not just our CMA group who has that vision, but we have hundreds of people, and we have an organization, and we have a church that we go to every Sunday that I look forward to going to church. And the vision and the mission and the conviction to take care of people who aren't going to be taken care of and helped if we don't do it. And we're doing it, and I love that.